Understanding key signatures for the guitar. Whilst this tutorial is aimed at the guitar, the same theory works for all other instruments. It's just that we'll be using the guitar as the main point of reference. The key signature appears at the beginning of each line in a piece of music, or sometimes just at the beginning of the piece of music. The key signature consists of a series of sharps and flats at the beginning of the stave, and the number of sharps or flats tells us what key the tune's in. If you just read tab, then the chances are you've never come across the key signature, and you don't really need it for reading tab. However, if you want to understand the guitar in greater depth, and you want to know about modes and how to write music for the guitar, then you really need to understand the theory behind key signatures and get to know what key you're playing different tunes in. To help you understand this tutorial, and so you don't get confused, you really need to know the 1-octave major scale. So, before we go any further, we'll revise the G major scale. If you already know it, you can skip forward, but otherwise, let's revise it now. This is how we play the G major scale. Play the 3rd fret of the bottom E string with the 2nd finger. Then play the 5th fret of the bottom E string with the 4th finger. Play the 2nd fret of the A string with the 1st finger. Then play the 3rd fret of the A string with the 2nd finger. And play the 5th fret of the A string with the 4th finger. Play the 2nd fret of the D string with the 1st finger. Then play the 4th fret of the D string with the 3rd finger. And finally, play the 5th fret of the D string with the 4th finger. Here is how the complete scale should sound. To practice and improve your stretching ability, you can leave your fingers on for the duration of each string. When you feel happy and comfortable playing up the entire scale, you can play it back down again simply by reversing the order of the notes. Now you know the major scale and hopefully are familiar with the sound, we'll continue in more depth and explain why it's important to be familiar with the major scale in order to understand the key signatures. The major scale can be considered the DNA of Western music. Virtually every chord and scale you play can be traced back to the major scale somewhere. You would have started learning the major scale, or certainly the major scale sound, from primary school when learning the do, re, mi's. All of this being said, the structure of the major scale is very simple, and it's simply a pattern of semitones, which can be demonstrated in terms of semitones or semitones and tones. For a guitarist, it's probably easier to remember the pattern for the major scale in terms of semitones, because a semitone is just a fret gap. So, the pattern for the major scale is 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 1. We can demonstrate this on the guitar using either the bottom E string or the top E string. I'll be demonstrating this on the bottom E string. The first note I'll play is the bottom E string. Then 2 frets up, which is the 2nd fret, 2 frets up again, which is the 4th fret, 1 fret up, which is the 5th fret, 2 frets up, which is the 7th fret, 2 frets up again, which is the 9th fret, 2 frets up again, which is the 11th fret, and 1 fret up, which is the 12th fret. I'll do that again more quickly. Open string, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 1. And again without me stating the numbers. You should be able to hear quite clearly that this is a major scale. It is in fact the E major scale. The reason this is an E major scale is because the scale gets its name from the first note that's played, which is the root or the tonic. In this case, it was the open E string. So when we played the G scale, we started on the 3rd fret of the bottom E string, which is the G. And this rule will always remain true. So if you played the same pattern in the 5th fret, it would be an A major scale. If you were to play the same pattern in the 7th fret, it would be a B major scale. And if you were to play the same pattern in the 8th fret, it would be a C major scale. When playing these different major scales, even though the pattern stays the same, something changes, and that is the number of sharps and flats you play. To demonstrate this, we'll have to use a piano keyboard, because it's more easily demonstrated, as the black notes are the sharps and flats, and the white notes are the natural notes. So the first scale we'll use to demonstrate this pattern works will be the C major scale. So we'll start on a C and use the pattern 2-2-1, 2-2-2-1. So let's do that. First note C, then we go up 2, so we skip the black and play D. We go up 2, we skip the black, play E. This time we go up 1 and there is no black and play F, up 2 to G, up 2 to A, up 2 to B, and then up 1 again to C. You'll notice again there's no black. So you'll notice here when playing the C major scale we didn't need to play any black notes, and this isn't an accident. The piano or the keyboard is quite a late instrument in the development of musical instruments, so it was actually designed around this pattern, which really demonstrates how important the pattern is. Something else it's important to point out at this time is, if we look at the key signature of C major, you'll notice there are no sharps and flats listed there. And this is the reason why, because when playing the C major scale, we don't land on any sharps and flats. And any tunes in C major are based on the scale of C major, and therefore they don't have any sharps and flats in them. Let's demonstrate this again, starting on a different note, but using the same pattern, 2-2-1, 2-2-2-1. This time we'll start on D. So play the D, then we move 2 to E, then 2 up from here we land on an F sharp, which is a black note, then it's 1, so we land on the G, then 2, so we land on the A, 2 again to the B, 2 again to a black note, which is the C sharp, and then 1 back to the D. Now if we go back to the key signatures and have a look at the key signature for D major, you'll notice it has 2 sharps. And this is what we've just demonstrated, the fact that we needed to play the F sharp and the C sharp. So every tune that's in the key of D major is based on the D major scale, and therefore you will always play the F sharp and the C sharp. Right, let's demonstrate this one last time. This time we'll go up to the E and do the same pattern, 2-2-1, 2-2-2-1. So starting on the E, we do 2 up from there and we land on the F sharp. Then we do 2 up from there, we land on G sharp. Then 1 puts us on A. Then 2 from there is B. 2 up from there is C sharp. Then 2 up from there is D sharp. And finally 1 up from there is back to the E. If we look at the key signatures now, you'll notice that the key signature for E major has 4 sharps in it. Therefore, all tunes with a key signature of E major are based on the scale of E major, and you should always play the F, G, C and D as sharps. In conclusion then, the key signature tells us which major scale the tune is based on, and this really reinforces why scales are so important. This tutorial is the beginning of a series of tutorials that will cover modes and further theory. So, if you want to see the rest, subscribe to the channel and enable notifications. Also, to get this lesson in the ebook form, you can find the link down below in the description to the website. Thanks for watching.